This is the Human Future Podcast, where we explore the intersection of technology and spirituality with some of the world's brightest minds. Together, we paint a vision of the desirable future and discuss the actionable steps to make that vision a reality. And now, without further ado, let's begin. Today, our guest is Millah, who has 22 years of experience in various forms of art, including music, dance, acting, and presenting. Millah's journey moved from a glamorous, artistic world into a more spiritually focused lifestyle. She's also a founder of popular meditation app YouTuneIn, which I personally use on a regular basis. During our conversation, we talked about future vision and philosophy, meditation and technology, human evolution, and challenges faced by humanity. Enjoy it. I know that you're very spiritually open or developed. When did that start for you? Has it always been that way? Have you always felt it and then over time it's just been developing? Have you always felt different, or was there a time where you was a significant shift for you?
It always been there. I always felt different. I always had memories from different lives, different realms, different places. They're not related to Earth. And yes, that can get a little complicated once you are young, and you don't have much understanding in what you are seeing or dreaming and then I start developing that once I had the decision to tap into it. And before it was just noise. Before was very powerful though, but without understanding and wisdom, it's just noise. It's just a reaction into it and not being able to translate that noise, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it very disorienting for you to
It was, yeah.
Could you share a little bit of that experience? How often would you get what was that experience like for you? Only for you, obviously.
Yeah, it's nothing too complex. It's just the way I felt about myself and looking around and seeing well, this is how to be normal, but I don't feel that normal, right? I have different desires, and people usually have normal desires, and my desires were too deep, help the world and kind of thing.
Right.
And I didn't have we didn't learn any of it in classes, in school and things like that. You know what I'm saying?
I understand, yeah. And then why did you choose music and performance if your deepest desires were to change the world, or you saw that as your...
Yeah, no, that desire was building after I had two different times of my life. I even play saying before Jesus and after Jesus.
Okay, I'd love to.
Yeah, because it was after meeting the Christ energy, the Christ Holy Spirit energy, that I was able to really tap into this unknown and into this spirituality. That was the door for me, the big gate that I got in. And before that desire was just there, I was doing things that I wasn't getting. The sensation I was looking for was to be fulfilled, which is not today. I see differently.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was never then fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always searching for something else. And once I had that connection with the Christ energy, I was like, wow, that's it. I know where I have to go, and I know how the path I need to follow from now on. And that was it. It wasn't no way back.
How did that happen? What were you doing? Where were you?
I had what they call in church, that is the Holy Spirit baptism on the first time. So it was pretty impressive. I actually, it was funny because I've never touched a Bible before then. And I doubted God. I was like, okay, I know God, I've been searching for you, and answers, but if you're really here, you're gonna have to prove me. And I mean,
How
that's
old were you?
I was maybe 21, I
Okay.
think. Yeah. And 21
You were kind
or
of like
23,
fairly
maybe.
deep into your career.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
very deep in my career. I was
Yeah.
living in London then.
Right.
I was in acting career. And, but yes, I was always searching for the spirituality. I was always searching to understand some senses that I always had developed and how was that possible. So I really wanted answers.
Mhm.
So then I actually had a very bad behavior with the universe, God, and the whole existence, like, prove me.
Mhm.
So then the pastor that was in duty that day, he came and said, "You are doubting God and you are saying this, this, and that." And he said exactly what I said.
Mhm.
For that reason, you're receiving the baptism in the Holy Spirit. And like I felt this lightening like inside of me. And my veins start to get like super purple. It's like almost like Marvel. It was pretty intense, to be honest. But
How long did it last? Just a few seconds, a few moments?
yeah, a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes as I was there, and right away I kneeled and I start crying. And this sentence inside of my brain starts saying, in Portuguese, I remember, but in English would be, everything is new. Like I'm renewing your blood, I'm renewing you, and I live within you today. And that is exactly a versicle in the Bible, which I never read. And then the pastor pulled up the Bible and said, "This is the versicle, like exactly what I said."
You verbalized
Well, I
that?
verbalized, yes, to the church, yes. And yeah, and then since then, I felt this unconditional love within me. Like I felt so much expansion in that connection. So much, it's almost like it always been there. And I just remembered. And it was beautiful and it changed me. It changed me completely. So I studied the Bible for the following 2 years.
Yeah,
After
because
that.
you were just completely blown away by
Yeah,
it.
I was in love completely. And yeah, and but I was always very open-minded around the connection with the higher self of you, this guide or this God within us, which is us, right? That, yes, I wanted to know more. So I kept my researches and learnings about it.
Yeah, and then what do you think, well, first question, do you think everyone have that remembrance and maybe it just doesn't come in a certain lifetime, or how does that work?
Who am I to say how does it work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
I think everybody has the memories,
Yes.
yes, but we is a reason why we don't remember things. And I think the people that do remember, they are kind of a guiders to help those to remember, but just as much as needed to continue, because that is what I feel is a collective expansion that it's about to happen. And it has to be steps by step. Imagine if everybody, right, remembers at the same time. And it's a certain evolution in our species and the big being that is becoming aware, which is Mother Earth. And yes, we are part of this contribution to this expansion, but we're not that special,
Yeah.
It's like everything, it's on serving only one purpose of Earth becoming aware. And yeah.
And then what is the relationship between, from your understanding, between God and the earth that it's becoming aware?
What is the connection? It's
When you had an encounter with Christ,
mm,
that's almost like one entity, and then there's an earth entity that is in the process of becoming aware. How do you reconcile the two? Like, there are two like conceptual things in a way that I don't know if it's not the
well,
same thing, is it?
that is the mind that wants to still be translating the duality,
Right.
right? Is the 3D. That's all we can see.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no duality there. It's all one. It's when you achieve the I am, you're able to understand that everything is connected. Yes. I had one episode in my life where I was able to experience the I am. And it's not, to me, it's not possible to live in that consciousness 24/7.
Right.
However, I have that supernatural experience. So every time I lose track of that vision, I can connect back to that, right? So it's almost like those helped us to have that one memory, that one episode that always remembers us to look for and remind ourselves that we have a connection and that we are all connected.
Yeah.
As Earth is trying to remind us about our connection all the time.
Yeah, the earth becoming conscious, that is also something attached in terms of it's like my dharma is to bring more unity in the world because I see that that's the process that is happening. I just want to contribute to that process to maybe not necessarily speed it up, but at least be a contributor to the unfoldment of the. I mean, I think it's an evolutionary process.
It is.
At least in 3D, that's part of the evolution is more simple parts becoming as like cells becoming more and more complex, creating organisms of different kind to the point where now we have a human organism that's very complex. There's so many moving parts and organs and things like that. And then now humans are like cells that are forming this new entity. That's I consider a conscious earth.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice way of seeing it.
And I
Yeah.
see that internet plays an important role. The technology plays an important role, especially internet, is the neural pathways that connect the cells and the information travels through them. That's like the backbone of the connection between the cells. Yes, obviously, there are a lot of things within technological realm, within information technology that potentially is not serving that trend. But I think through evolution, the process of evolution involves making a lot of mistakes. And so everything that is, or making a lot of mistakes or just mutate, like that's part of the evolution,
No,
mutation.
you are correct. Mistakes depends on how you see them. As a contrast. If it's not conflict, if it's not contrast, there is no evolution.
Sure.
Because we live in a duality. We live in a 3D. And the only way of expanding and moving forward, it is throughout duality. It is throughout the conflict and the contrast. What changes is the harmony. It's how you tune in, literally, to the self and to the contrast and the way you look at it. So once you find that harmony, that tuning, because it's also is not peace that you want to find, because it's impossible to live in peace. As I said, contrast will always be there. So the ideal is to find that balance, to find the harmony, where then you can understand that life will be more pleasant, I would say, even if you face the contrast, even if you face the conflict.
Conflict, yeah. Yeah, could you also, because I know that you have a lot of kind of unique experiences around like encounters with spirit realm, if you will.
Well, I had a near-death experience, yes. where, yes, it was visually, yeah.
Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah. So when I had an episode that was wrong diagnosed of a illness, I don't know if I want to talk about the entire episode, but what I can talk about is that yes, I had a near-death experience once I faced a near-death, right? Throughout diagnosed and maybe an awakening that happened right there in a moment of desperation and reaching out to God. And I was very ill, and then suddenly I just saw myself above on earth. And that was like clear as I'm seeing here physically. And I was able to find my mind so full of voices, and it's almost like I was everything. And it was too much. It was like almost I could listen and feel the entire earth and everybody alive. So it was a beautiful vision, but at the same time was very scary because I was like, I'm about to really die. And then
you were recognizing that you were like on the
I left my body. I'm on top of earth. I was like, well, that's it. But I was still attached to my emotional body, right? So then I just made a prayer, said, okay, if I go back, I promise continue the journey, And suddenly I surrendered. I surrendered to what I was feeling. And suddenly I start coming back. But I was part of everything. I was the air, I was the bird, I was the trees, the roots, the ground, you. I was coming through people's eyes. It was like a beautiful connection. And that moment, I was the I am. I was that I am. It's hard to describe because that experience was felt and brought me so much awareness and that it's impossible to translate, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
I cannot translate how big that shift was. So when I came back, and by the way, I wrote a song that called I Find Myself in Pieces. You can find on Spotify. Back then was a experience. Yeah, it was a pop song. And then when I came back and I slept, I was sure I was about to leave. And in my dream came the direction, exactly what I needed to do in order to heal. And so I did. And I'm here today. So I got healed from what I experienced. And if I didn't have that connection, if I wasn't connected, I would have died from the chemicals and from the treatments that I was about to be treated. Definitely I would have died. Yeah. And because of that connection, because I listened to that intuition, I listened to that voice, I was able to heal myself. So then I was committed on this journey to like, yes, people, it's possible people to tune in. It's possible for them to, everybody has that tuner, And if we can demystify that, if we can make it simple, if we could, because of so many religions, right, and philosophies out there, it was really hard, I guess, for people to really find that connection because it was always related to someone else in order to get that connection.
Yes.
And to me, it was like, it might be a way. It might be a way where people can just tap into their own consciousness. And yeah, I think we start doing a good job then. So then the YouTuneIn journey started from there.